Come on in the room. Come on in the room. We are recording live. It's Cream City Crossover. Guru Trick Offs third.
Chris King.
Justin.
Yes, in the building. Appreciate everybody for joining us today. And today, this is a very special episode, very special part of the Cream City Crossover because we have a very special guest for all of you. And we are excited to welcome to the program a former professional basketball player, NCAA, and for the Arkansas Razorbacks, 1975 to 1979. Led them to the Final Four in 1978. Nicknamed Sid the Squid, Sir Sid, El Cid, went on to play 11 seasons in the National Basketball Association, including 10 seasons with your Milwaukee Bucks. He's a 5-time NBA All-Star, 2-time NBA Defensive Player of the Year in 1983 and 1984. And oh, by the way, he was elected to the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame in 2019. My goodness, the accolades. He needs no introduction, but please give it up, give a warm welcome. And we want to welcome you to the program, Coach Sidney Moncrief. How you doing?
I'm doing outstanding, guys. Thanks for that very nice introduction. Thank you.
Absolutely. Only the best. I want to start this off on a different note and just kind of again, well, thank you for being here. But I want to ask you about a dear friend of yours and a teammate. And this just happened, not too long ago. Junior Bridgman, who tragically passed away. Just if you could, a little bit on his impact throughout to the basketball community, his impact on your life, and what he meant as a person, as a friend, as a teammate to you.
Yeah, every time I think of juniors, always great memories, right? We've known each other over 45 years. And when I was, I guess, drafted by the Bucks and had to come to Milwaukee, he was the person that showed my wife, Deborah, Doris, and JB. They showed us around, and he still jokes and used to tell people that, yeah, the only thing Sidney wanted to do is to find a Kentucky Fried Chicken but we had such a wonderful relationship on the court and off the court. And sometimes people are with us and then they're gone, but his memory, people always say, oh, cliches, but his it's real. He's a quality guy, tough guy, quality, very focused, a tremendous friend. And I was thinking the other day, before he passed, I said he has every good quality of emotional intelligence. I teach emotional intelligence in some of my workshops: self-awareness, empathy, self-regulation, motivation, discipline, and social skills. I was thinking before he passed, I was going to tell him, I said, man, you have every one of those nailed. And that's why he was so successful. And his human worth far outweighed his net worth.
Mm.
I had to, when he became quote a billionaire, I remember doing some articles, not articles, interviews, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. And they would revert back to the money, how well he's done. I was like, you guys are missing the point. And he was just the type of person he was, outweighed how much money he ever had. And so I went to the services last week, and it was, I think about Junior. People say you think about people every day when they die. I literally think about him more than once a day, and
Mm.
he will be missed. But hey, his impact will be felt for a long time.
Absolutely. And kind of sticking right there on that point of what he did and what he meant. Life lessons that you have learned throughout your journey in the NBA. Throughout throughout the things that you've seen. Just what do you make of it? And I know you even have a book called the journey your journey in the NBA. But what do you make of the biggest life lessons you learned while you were in the NBA and playing in these Milwaukee Bucks teams?
Well, don't chase too many women. Don't drink too much. And stay in good shape. You don't want to really know the lessons I learned, do you?
Now, yeah, that's what we definitely want him on the Cream City crossover.
No, it's really that's part of it. The lesson of just people in general. Because remember, you're somewhat of a target. You're a celebrity, not to the level now. So you always have people chasing you for different things, and discernment is probably one of the things that I was taught because I got tricked so much during my 11 years and even afterwards in so many different ways. And you just learn to accept people for who they are, but just be aware at all times of a person's character and their motives. And that's one thing I learned. And just here's what I really learned: that is entertainment. People can get all caught up in winning championships, but at the end of the day, and it really hit me probably when I coached. I got older, and you start to process the amount of time they spend on marketing the NBA, the amount of time they spend on engagement of the players, keeping the fans involved. You learn it's beyond a business; it's an entertainment business that uses sports as a vehicle
Mhm.
to make people feel good about themselves or feel bad about themselves. So those are some lessons, and then one more, professionalism, because I played for the Bucks in junior when all these people were they were pros. Brian Winters, everything. That team was just like on top of the game. Marcus Johnson. And so I came from an environment in college of being professional even then, but to get it in the NBA, it gave me that additional layer of discipline that you might not have gotten in other locations. Milwaukee was such a small market. There was only so much you could get into without leaving town. So it's like, so you learn how to be a pro. That's what I call it. And as you get older and you start watching players, I'm not just saying in this era, but even players after I played, and even players when I played that were not pros, even though it's entertainment, it's still a job. It's something you have to take very seriously. It's your craft. It's something you do well. It's something you want to continue to do well. And that I was taught that by playing 11 years and then coaching in the NBA helped a lot also.
Um, Coach Moncrief, you mentioned as far as coaching that you coached in the NBA and the lessons you learned on professionalism and stuff like that. I wonder if you could allude a little bit on that of how you've taken those lessons and are now helping the young kids in the workforce with some of your other ventures off the basketball court as well.
Yeah, I was very fortunate because I grew up, no, I grew up poor, right? So I was fortunate that I had parents and a family structure that was very strong. A lot of times you get these visions of kids of color that grow up without, we were on welfare, all the things that that identifies with people that are maybe not as well off, but we had the structure and discipline throughout my entire childhood. And more than anything else, that helped me. It helped me to appreciate people because my parents, they were not affluent, and they treated people well. They expected you to treat people well. So I had that lesson from the time I was 4 or 5 years old. And I learned that people have value. Everyone has value. Everyone wants to belong. Everyone has the uh, deserve to be treated with respect. I learned that early. So when I got to the NBA, it was natural, and it carried it over into college. Coach Eddie Sutton, he cared a lot about our character. He cared a lot about us graduating, being successful outside of basketball. It was easy for me, and the reason I connect with people doesn't matter if you're a billionaire or someone on the street corner without a home. The reason I can connect or can identify with them because I see myself in some shape, form, or fashion. When I see, it's so funny when I can maybe drive in my car and you see a little young kid with a basketball in their hands and they're walking, and God, it comes right to mind. I remember when I was that age and I had my basketball in the hand. I was walking to the basketball court, the hoop, and all those different things. Like you don't really know what this young man, this young lady is going to be because they're young right now. But I was that same person, and because of A, B, C, D, I became more than people thought I would become. So all those experiences helps keep me grounded and who I am and feeling good about who I am. I have a saying, something I saying, it was a song. I like to listen to music. I was listening to a song I was listening to blues one day, and the song goes something like, now I'm not having it backwards. They said, love the life you live, and live the life you love. I think said, live the life you love, and love the life you live. And that's so me. And that was developed over a lot of years of practice, successes and failures and such.
Coach Moncrief, Chris King here. Pleasure to have you joining us on the Cream City Crossover. I wonder, as you've had some time to reflect on a great career, not only just playing in the NBA, but also, getting to a Final Four in college and also coaching, being a part of college basketball coaching as well, what means the most to you when you really look back at your career?
Consistency. I think the consistency was always a big thing for me. And I wasn't smart or savvy enough when I was in high school to realize that was going to be my trademark. But I knew pretty much in college that if you don't do anything else, be consistently good, hopefully, or be consistently bad. Don't have people guessing about who you are and how you do something. So that was a really nice lesson that I can reflect back on and say, yeah, that was really very important. When I look at my basketball career, it's so strange. Sometimes I say, was I really that good in my mind because it was such a long time ago? Then I watch video because in my workshops, I do an introductory video. A lot of people don't know who I am, the younger people and sometimes older people. So I do a video. I play the same video at every workshop. And I come with the conclusion, guys, that, yeah, you were that good. I come to that conclusion because, in my mind, I didn't really think about that very much. Mm-hmm. I just went about doing what I was doing. I wasn't thinking about if I was better than this player or if I would be a Hall of Famer. All those different things that players have all this anxiety over, it was never in my mind. It was like next ball game, next hoop game, next whatever. Mm-hmm. That's all that was important. I didn't look back in the past too much. I stayed pretty much focused on my future and in the present.
No, so you mentioned you didn't know if you were that good, which is just crazy to me because me being the oldest one on the podcast, I'm 42. You're a living legend to me. But I want to talk about kind of how I got to know Coach Moncrief, the basketball player. Both of my grandfathers, and you know my uncle as well, so he definitely played a role in that, right? But both of my grandfathers would take me to the Mecca along with my mom or dad. I was about the same age as my grandson now, right? So this whole grandfather thing is very important to me. And you got a book out now, and the book is called Grit. Kids teaching Grandpa Sid the biz. And I just wondered if you could share, because it sounds like you're a lot like myself and like how my grandfathers were, where being a grandfather is so important and being involved with the younger generation. So can you share a little bit about the book, how you came to it, and just what it means to be a grandfather to you?
Don't laugh. I'm laughing because I'm a pretty upfront person, pretty transparent, right? I try not to say things that are not true. at times I think I'm a lousy granddad, right? And at times I think I'm a good granddad. I try to make sure I keep the boundaries. I didn't have grandparents, so I didn't have that example, first of all. But I try very clearly to keep the boundaries between granddad and dad because they're so different. And when you start crossing over, do you add to or do you take away that relationship with their immediate parents? So I'm very conscious of that. However, I do try to influence them to the best of my ability. So I've written 12 books. This is book number 12. And I was thinking, okay, I had just written a book about, what did I write a book about? Oh, I had just written a book about get off the bench, get in the game in the workplace, right? And I'm like, okay, I did that book. I do maybe one book every year, every 2 years. I'm like, okay, what can I write about this time? And I have about 7 grandkids. And I'm like, you know what? It would be nice for me to do a book about my grandkids. Technically, it's not with my grandkids, but I've given them credit in the book. But that would be nice. And the reason I did it is because I wanted to leave a legacy that they could pass on to their kids. what better than a book, right? What's stronger than a book? It's something they can hold, they can read, they can bond with the granddad, and they can be proud. They can feel good about being in a book. They can feel good about having their name in this book. So I wanted something to build them up, and also to give them something to when I'm dead, they have something at least to say years later. Oh, I remember this. We wrote this book. They better not lie. They should say, I remember Grandpa Sidney wrote this book, right? And we're in it and blah, 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 blah. So that's the reason I wrote the book for that reason. In a children's book, because all the other books, I was kind of tired of writing books with, and my books are not long. They're about 15,000 words or so. As you know, people write a lot longer books than that. That's 85 to 100 pages. That's about my attention span. And so I wanted to write something smaller, shorter, where I could just make it short, concise, and to the point. So that's why I came up with the Grit Kids. And we use grit a lot in my workshops. G is for growth, resilience, intentionality, and tenacity. So I wanted to incorporate grit into this book with literacy and also with emotional intelligence.
Coach, I wanted to just expound upon you made a point earlier asking, and the point was you talking about how whether you were as good as you were, and when watching some of the players of yesterday. And there was some comments that have come out where sometimes you see there's this big divide between new media, old media. There's questions about how good were the players really back in the day versus how good they are today. Comments that came out earlier recently about how Giannis could score 250 points back in the day. I wonder when you look at those videos, when you look at that film from back in the day, and you see how the players play the game today. I just wonder what your thoughts are on how that game translates. Is it truly just eras that are, and you can't really put them together, or what would that look like?
Yeah,
Guys from yesterday and guys from today.
yeah, I think it's difficult to compare them, first of all. However, we do, because I'm a pro, right? So if you're a professional, you're going to always say this era does this better, this era does that better. And I think a Giannis will be I always say the top 10 players in the NBA in any, let's say top 20, could play in any era, first of all, right? I think where the disconnect becomes an issue is a middle tier and the lower tier. When I coached in the NBA, I noticed that the middle and lower tier was not great. When you go from player 8 to 12, right? When I played, maybe 8 to 12 is not good either. I don't know. They were not playing much, so you focus on the superstars. But I would say the deficiency in the game of the players today is just fundamentals because they don't have them, because they were never taught them. Just like we were never taught to shoot 3-pointers.
Mm.
We were never taught to, if you were a guard, God forbid if you did anything but be a one guard. If you were a 3, you never were taught to dribble the basketball and make a play and do all the things with the, and players today, when you watch them train, they spend a lot of time on handling the basketball, right? They handle the ball a lot better than we could ever imagine, simply because that's what they practice on. If you were a 5 and you thought about shooting a 3-point shot when during my era, you would get benched, right? Matter of fact, if you thought about shooting a shot, if you're a 3, 4, 5, that was like a long shot, you might get benched because that was not encouraged. You were encouraged to shoot your shot. Now players are encouraged to shoot a lot of different shots, even 3-point shots, which most of them can't shoot, but they still are taught to shoot them a lot. So I think it's just how you were developed. We came from an era where you play more pickup basketball in the summer and even during the year. this era and before, they play AAU basketball. So they play structured basketball a lot more than we did, which takes away your ability to be more creative, I think. And it hurts your basketball IQ because now you're pigeonholed, and it hurts your ability to be more disciplined because you don't have your high school coach right there. We know how that was. Your high school coach was a lot more lenient, was a lot more hard on you than just a quote AU coach because they want to make sure you stay on the team. Well, when I played, they didn't care. This was where you could play. You couldn't just hop around to different
All right.
schools to play basketball. So you had a little bit more discipline, a little bit more accountability. You didn't have much flexibility. So to answer your question, it's kind of hard to beat Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Kareem, Bird. I mean, I said Bird before, Moses Malone, all that era of the 80s when I played Dominic Wilkins, Isaiah Thomas. We can go on and on. And I watched them, and I watched the greatest players today play. I'm on the bench watching a LeBron James at 6'8", whatever, coming down like a freight train. You're like, oh my goodness, even as a coach, you're like, wow, that's special right there. You see the specialty. Giannis is special right now. Giannis is probably the best example because remember when I played in the 80s, you had at least 3 7-footers on your roster because they play copy. Everybody copies what everyone else does. So you had definitely 2, sometimes 3. And so the paint is not going to just open like the Red Sea when you drive the basketball. It's going to be a little bit tougher. But he has a skill set that would have made that adjustment and still been a great player.
Absolutely, Coach Moncrief. Kind of sticking with that a little bit, and our other co-host John Tyus is tied up with because we got to pay the bill, so he's a working man, so he's working a little bit today. But I wanted to make sure we got one of his questions in because it kind of fits right in. So, do you think that load management will hurt the league in the future? And were you ever load managed during your era?
Load management is a bunch of crap. I mean, it cheats the fans. It cheats the fans. If you're saying we want to make sure this player is ready for the playoffs, what about all the fans that attend games every game night? They're there to see a player play. And for you to take that player off the court for something in the future, you're hurting and penalizing people that are paying their money to see those players. And it also hurts the credibility of that player themselves. I just, if you hurt, you don't play. Absolutely. But gosh, these guys, rightfully so, they have so much different things to help their body heal quicker and their body stronger. And you have the massages, you have the chiropractor, you have the cryo, you have all these, which you should have. So don't tell me about load management. If a guy's not hurt, they should be out there playing. And they should be playing. That's what they're paid to do, play.
Absolutely, and right. You talk about all the extra things that they have today as far as putting on their bodies. Talk about travel as well is a big difference from today versus what it was back when you played as well. I'd assume.
The travel is jacked up because back when we played, we could get in trouble right after a game because we stayed in the city, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So here's what the NBA decided, and it started when I was playing. These guys are having too much fun in New York, LA, whatever. After the game, so we're gonna leave. We're gonna do charter flights. So now the players don't have to wait till after the game. They get wicked before the game. Like you're not gonna keep a guy from doing what they're going to do. So if you're not gonna hang out after the game, then you're gonna have whatever you want, your work, whatever later, what come to do in the afternoon, the morning of the game. You're not gonna get around that issue. But the thing about back your point, when I coached, we did everything charter. I just found that when you get into a city at 2 and 3 a.m. in the morning, that's just not good for your body, right? I'd rather do it like the old days where you just play your game, guys socialize, they see their friends after the game. It's good for them. And then the next morning, you fly out and start the process. But I did not like getting in at 3 a.m. sometimes 4 a.m. at the night after you just played a game.
Yeah. Coach, piggybacking off of the load management issue, and talking about injuries, you dealt with some injuries at in the latter portions of your career. What do you say to somebody who was on the Milwaukee Bucks team, like a Chris Middleton, who was traded to the Washington Wizards, who is dealing with a lot of lower body injuries? Just found out the other day that he's going to have an MRI on his knee after he went out the last night. Or a Damian Lillard. Now his is a little bit different, but he's had calf issues, has a blood clot. Giannis, even again, he's not an older player in his late 30s yet, but again, because of the nature of the way he plays, how hard he plays, how it seems like he has built up injuries, has not played in the last couple of postseasons. Usually some lower body, lower extremity issues with him, legs and ankles, calves. What do you say to players? And again, because you're saying, hey, if you can play, you can play. From a load management issue, that's what they're trying to prevent. What do you say to those, especially those older guys dealing with injuries? Is that a talk about preparing for life after basketball? Is that a talk about preserving your body so that you can be ready to play as much as you can? What kind of advice are you giving those type of guys?
Well, my last year in Milwaukee, so my last 2 years, I was put on load management against my will because they wanted me to be ready for the playoffs. So I had a knee condition. I had it for my entire NBA career. It wasn't anything new. It was a knee condition. And they said, nope, we're going to sit him out until the playoffs. We're going to sit him out extra. I missed a lot of games my last 2 years that I could have played, and I would have played, but I was not allowed to play. And I think when that's happening to a player, it hurts your value. It hurts your ability to bond with your teammates. There's a lot of negative parts to that because sometimes if it's just low back then, if it's low management, they didn't say that. But I would say to your question is just take care of your body. Whatever you need to do, when you can play, and you know when you can't play. Some people have different levels of pain tolerance, and they normally had to save me for myself because if I've taken shots, I've done all types of things because I wanted to play basketball. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to hoop. I wanted to be out there with my teammate. I wanted to compete. I did not want to not play, period. But there comes a time when you have injuries that, like Damon has or Chris Middleton had, that you just can't do it. You can't do it because here's what I can tell them, but they don't understand it because here's what people told me, and I don't understand it till now. They would always say, just wait. Just wait. The cumulative impact of these injuries, we're not football players. We don't have the what's going on with the brain, but the cumulative wear and tear on your body, not just from the NBA. Think about this. From the time you're in now, elementary school, because you're playing AAU elementary school, then junior high school, then high school, you playing 3 games minimum, 5 games minimum AAU tournaments when you're in high school and junior high school. Then you play college. Just think of all that wear and tear on your body. You cannot get around it. But what will happen will be when you're in your 40s, then your 50s and 60s, you having trouble walking, standing, all the different things that people don't have to deal with as an athlete. You will have that. And it's kind of shocking that players are getting hurt. I'm not saying at a higher rate than when I played because we were hurt, but nobody cared. It's like nobody diagnosed it that you had something broken. Matter of fact, I was getting an X-ray when I had retired 15 years later, and they said, "Oh, we see something's broken here. You broke your finger, or you broke your foot." And I said, "Oh, really?" Yeah, yes. I didn't. I knew it was hurting. I didn't know it was broken. So you had that go on quite a bit back during those times. Now you should not ever have something that's misdiagnosed or not diagnosed in a timely manner.
Sure. Coach Moncrief, you said something about the players today when you talk about positionless basketball and guys that are maybe 3, 4, 5 shooting threes, and just the way the game has kind of changed right now. And you see all the talk about maybe the watchability, the product on the floor of
It's
the
tough.
NBA.
You can't watch it. Go ahead.
I would love for you to kind of expand on that, because the game has changed, and you see teams like the Celtics shooting 53s a game, and so the casual NBA fan may have difficulty getting back into the NBA if they're just going to watch a random game and there's just a ton of threes being put up. What do you make of the way the game has changed and kind of the watchability of the NBA today?
Well, number one, load management has hurt the game, hands down. No one can ever say with a straight face that fans want to watch the players play. Number one. Number two, pro football is great. No one can sit there and tell me that pro football players are just more athletic and just more beautiful athletes, or baseball, than basketball players, right? But some of the best athletes in the world. However, the structure that they have in place to monitor and manage players is stronger than the NBA. Players can dress any kind of way, they can say anything, they can spend half their time on the court yelling and trying to get the officials. They can do this the half of the game. It's just stupid stuff that you kind of like, huh? What? Where's just playing basketball? Where's that? So you have that aspect, and then you have the pure aspect of, okay, you shoot a three, you miss. We're on the same team. You shoot a three, next possession. Then the other person next best shoots a three. And then I'm like, dude, you all shot 5 threes in a row. 3 were bad shots. Where's the ball movement? Where's the player movement? Where's the thought saying, oh, you know what? We just missed 3 in a row, 3-pointers. They made 3 in a row, 3-pointers. Doesn't make sense to not get to the basket, to the foul line. So those type decisions, and what's really striking is there's a coach right here. Where is the coaching to say, timeout? Hey, I know you feel that's a good shot. Time. You got to look at the time and situation. Or let's not take another 3-point shot until we drive to the basket. Football, you never see where coaches don't seem to have control of the players, right? You might have players make mistakes, but there's always a discipline of a game plan. We're going to work the game plan. If you don't work the game plan, you're not playing. You don't have that in the NBA anymore. It's gone. And it hurts the game of basketball. It hurts the watchability of it.
Coach Moncrief, real quick one before we get to the current state of the Milwaukee Bucks and where you see us going. Now, we know you were raised in Arkansas, but you came up to America's Dairyland, the best state in America. Might be a little bit biased. I was born there. just a quick one. Did we convert you into a cheesehead, into a Milwaukee Brewers fan? That's all I want to know for the rest of the Milwaukee folks listening.
Not a cheesehead. I'm not a baseball person, but someone asked me yesterday. It's so funny. I don't know where the question came from. I don't know what nothing ever came of it. A friend of mine, he said, "Who's your favorite baseball teams?" I said, I'm not a baseball person. And then I said, if I had to give a baseball team, I couldn't give one. I would say the Yankees, the Rangers, and the Brewers, right? So the Brewers right there. Milwaukee is my town. Milwaukee is my town. It's just too cold for me most of the year. And so I am certainly the Packers. My wife is a Packer fan. She grew up in Milwaukee. And yes. I grew up in Little Rock, Arkansas. So what's down the highway from us 5 hours? The
Cowboys.
Right? Yeah. So just like the people in Wisconsin watched the Packers, they were our pro team. We watched the Cowboys. So from 5th grade, I was a Cowboy fan. And I don't change teams much. So when the Packers play the Cowboys, we have a really good discussion in my household. Yeah, but Milwaukee is my town. I just like the people, and I tell individuals all the time that have never been to Milwaukee, I say you have to go. You have to appreciate the diversity of the landscape, the people. I love being outside. Now I know it's cold most of the year, but it's nothing like lakefront. It's nothing like some of the park systems, the good food. It's just a great place. I'll be there next week for a week. So I definitely Milwaukee is my second. Arkansas will always be my home. This is home, but that's my second home. Even though I lived in Dallas for years, Milwaukee is still my second home.
Let's, Coach. What we have here, I want to get at least a little bit into the state of the Milwaukee Bucks currently. Right now, they are in a battle for fifth, sixth, maybe fourth, but really probably fifth, sixth in the East. Realistically, they are down their second superstar, Damian Lillard, with blood clots. There's some optimism he may come back. My guess is he's probably not, and he's probably done for the year. This has been the Milwaukee Bucks seem to have been cursed since 2020, since the championship in 2021, where they cannot win a championship, and it's all due to injury after injury after injury. Has not changed this year. You thought you bring Damian Lillard in and to kind of help solve some of that, and for 2 years they've been here 2 years and they have not played. Giannis and Damian Lillard have not played together and probably will not play together in the playoffs. Oh, by the way, you trade your third star, Chris Middleton, in between all of that for a Kyle Kuzma, and he's trying to integrate into the Milwaukee Bucks. What is the ceiling now of this team? Has the trade been a disaster? Is this? I mean, is this all kind of blowing up? Where do you see this going this year and even a little bit beyond?
It helps that you have a very good coach, and I don't think people realize, in spite of the record, how good of a job Doc has done to keep them playing at a level, respectable level. Because on paper, they shouldn't be. The injuries and different things that are happening, they should not be. Trades are sometimes very, very dangerous. We know that. And sometimes they just don't work out. Sometimes you have an older player, you need to get rid of the older player. Chris Middleton was, to me, a lifer for the Bucks. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I know he's got hurt a lot, but one thing you do know, when there's a close game, and most NBA games are close, you had another closer on the court, a guy that could make shots and was not afraid to take big shots. That's gone. And now you have a development player still. He's the kid they traded for. He's still in development. When I watched him closely when I was in Milwaukee watching the game, I'm like, okay, this is a project here. So I think that they are where they are, and I don't see them moving much. I think they're the sixth or seventh, probably best team without Damon in the East, right? I think they will cause problems for other teams, but you still need players to win. But again, strategically, the things when you coach basketball and you watch what they do, how they play, what Doc has done, it's still pretty amazing that they're just right there in most ball games. Moving forward with salary caps and different things, you don't have a lot of ways you can go. You really don't. You would need to make a big, big trade, one of your top two guys, uh, and maybe start over again. But people don't want to hear that because it's no such thing as rebuilding any longer. I remember I was with the NBA. My early years, our tagline was "green and growing."
Mm-hmm.
That was the tagline.
Yep.
Like kind of like trust the process. But it's only so long you can. People are going. They want to. You need to be grown up. We're tired of you growing. You need to be grown up. And I think with the Bucks, when you win a championship, the expectations goes up. However, sometimes you're locked in with contracts and you have to pay guys and you lose Portis. It's so much that has gone the wrong way, and they're still right there. I don't see them winning the East by any stretch, but I see them being very competitive.
It's probably time for one more question, guys. So one of you guys take it away, and then we'll.
Yeah, just ending on a little bit of a lighter note. I wonder, as you got into the NBA and you had some time, whenever, maybe summers came around and you're in Milwaukee, was there anything you did for fun out there in Milwaukee that you kind of look back on that really just helped you pass time out there?
In the summer?
Yeah, in the summer.
Well, I was an Arkansas guy, so I never spent a summer in Milwaukee.
Okay.
Yeah, I was so beaten up from the long season. I played heavy minutes, and I would go after the final game, pretty much, I would go right to Arkansas, and that was my place that I would chill and work out. And I would come back 2 weeks beforehand. I didn't. It's so strange. I didn't fully appreciate Milwaukee in the summer until I was probably in my 40s or 50s. You know, it's like this is a cool place. Yeah, I should spend more time here. But no, I didn't. I didn't spend summers in Milwaukee. I did it backwards. I should have spent the summers in Milwaukee's and the winters in Arkansas.
Right.
I couldn't do that.
I lied. I did have one more final. This is a short one though. You were a tenacious defender. Can you give me one guy who was like, I mean, maybe not a name that we would think about in your era, but probably your toughest cover? Who maybe a guy that we're not thinking about, one of the top names, but who would you say is your toughest cover?
Well, Andrew Toney is definitely the player that basketball purists know, right? Because his years in Philadelphia. But he was the most difficult cover because he could do it all. He could shoot a 3-point. I tell people, he can catch the ball stationary and just rise up for a 3. You can skip past. He can shoot a 3. He could pump fake 3, 2 dribbles left, 2 dribbles right. He could drive all the way to the bucket. He could post you up. So when you're guarding him, it wasn't like, well, we need to play his tendencies. I watch his tendency all the time, because he always had a counter. He was one of the most complete offensive players, I think, in the history of the game of basketball. Definitely during my era.
Andrew Toney.
Tough.
Good answer. We appreciate it, Coach Moncrief, 100%. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to thank everybody who has watched this interview today. And again, just an absolute pleasure to have Coach Moncrief on the program. This has been a Cream City Media Group production from the Guru Trey Crosby III.
Chris King.
Justin.
Coach Moncrief, absolutely. Please go get the book.
SidneyMoncrief.org. SidneyMoncrief.org. And we want people to buy for classes, not just individual books. We don't. Right now, our nonprofit, real quickly, we donate, or someone donates money. We go to a school and we do 30 books, a 5th or 6th grade class. We give them a book. We'll give them a T-shirt. We have a book reading with some fun activities. So we're trying to get this book in front of multiple people, mostly 5th and 6th graders, mostly just individual classes. So that's something that's exciting. And I have some coming up. I have about 5 coming up in Arkansas. So I need some in Wisconsin so I can spend more time there. So some of you educators, go to my website, hit me with an email.
One more time, SidneyMoncrief.org.
SidneyMoncrief.org.
SidneyMoncrief.org. Please go get the book.
And that's why I was taught also, guys. All my years in the NBA, guess why I was taught?
What's that?
Always be selling who you are in your brand.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Always be selling. So I'm selling.
Absolutely. And we are buying. Life lesson right there from Coach Moncrief. Again, appreciate everybody. Appreciate Coach Moncrief for joining us. This has been a Cream City Media Group production. I'm rapping again. This is from the Guru Trey Crosby III.
Chris King.
Justin.
We thank you again. If I am the enemy, it's only because I dare to tell you the truth. Don't take no wooden nickels. Courage.